My apologies for this episode getting out so late. It is now Friday. We are 5 days away, removed, I should say, from the worst day of my life. This is not the feel-good episode, by the way. This is the I'm still mad 5 days later. I'm still sick. Every time I go back and try to look at what happened in this game, I literally get sick to my stomach and have to stop. I'm Matt Edwards. You are in the jungle. Thanks for joining me. A lot of people are already over the loss, and that's fine. The Bengals had a phenomenal season, the best of my lifetime, certainly. I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful for it. If you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, man, within the next 10 years, you will see the Cincinnati Bengals play in the Super Bowl, I would have been thrilled. I still am thrilled. I'm so thankful I got to be there and be there with my dad. It was an amazing memory. We'll never forget it. It was amazing, but I'm still just not over the fact that we didn't get to watch the Bengals hoist the Lombardi Trophy because they played well enough to do it. And with both teams, you can make this argument on both sides. I don't feel like the outcome of this game, and this has been everyone's concern, I don't feel like the outcome of Super Bowl 56 was 100% controlled by the teams involved. I'm not trying to take the homer angle here of the refs hate us or the game's rigged. I'm not trying to do that. And you can say it was 92% or 93% or whatever you want. Whatever percentage you want to say was dictated by the two teams involved, it for sure was not 100% dictated by the two teams playing in the game. And that's what still makes me sick and will make me sick forever. I think eventually I'll get to the point where I'm like, it's amazing the Bengals. I'm already at that point. It's amazing they were there. This team had no business being there. And if they get a Super Bowl here in the next 5 years or so, maybe the pain of this one goes away. But right now, it's difficult for me to sit here and be happy about the season when you feel like they had it in their hands. They were a play away from forcing a 4th and goal from the 13 if they get the false start called on the Rams. They miss it. You know what happened. Logan Wilson, a very questionable defensive holding call. I don't think I need to explain to this audience the outcome from there. And to wait until the final 2 minutes. And hey, by the way, I know it's Friday now. We're 5 days removed. You've heard all this maybe. This is for me. I'm doing this for me. I'm sitting here thinking to myself every day while I'm sitting at work wanting to bang my head into the wall. If you're over it and you're happy about the season, good for you. I'm not there yet. I'm happy about the season, but I'm still not happy about just getting to the Super Bowl. Maybe had the Bengals lost by 20, I'd be happier. But it feels like the Bengals played well enough to win and still didn't get to decide their fate. And that's one reason I waited until today to record this. I wanted to talk to some other people. Am I being too big of a homer right now? Do I need to take off the black and orange sunglasses and say, you know what? The Bengals straight up lost. But everyone I talk to says, yeah, that was some manure there at the end. Even Tony Dungy, the mild-mannered Tony Dungy, everyone's friendly, kind uncle came out and said what a hatchet job the refs did in the final 2 minutes. When you lose Tony Dungy, you've lost Middle America, and therefore you've certainly lost the fans of the team who got screwed in the process. And let's even say Logan Wilson did hold Cooper Kupp on that play. The play should have never happened. The entire offensive line false started. I don't know if that's the correct past tense grammar there. There was a false start on everyone. The play should have been blown dead. It should have been 3rd and goal from the 13-yard line. With a Bengals defense that to that point had only given up 16 points. Instead, the ass-face refs missed the call. And then, let's even say it was a good call. Let's say that was the right call. I don't think it was. Most people don't think it was. Logan Wilson played good coverage. Cooper Kupp got a superstar call. I thought we only did those with quarterbacks and in the NBA, but apparently they now go to wide receivers as well. Logan Wilson, let's say he did hold. The play should have never happened. And the incompetence of the officials in the NFL continues to be a storyline that they will ignore. And in this case, it perhaps cost the Cincinnati Bengals a Super Bowl. I'm not saying it did. I'm just saying it's hard not to dwell on that right now. And everyone was happy with the refs the first 58 minutes of the game, right? The only other call, and Rams fans can make this argument, and maybe they're right, was the T. Higgins offensive pass interference, which, by the way, I was in the stadium, SoFi Stadium. You do a lot of things right. Your replay system is non-existent. You were more interested in showing all the celebrities on the Jumbotron. Maybe the people who bought tickets did so because they were also interested in seeing what happens on the field and not getting shots of Tobey Maguire. I like Tobey Maguire as much as the next guy. I don't need to see a picture of him in the stadium. I know where I'm at. I'm in Los Angeles. Celebrities exist there. Good, great. I want to see what happened on the field. So on the field at the time, I didn't know until hours later that T. Higgins grabbed Jalen Ramsey by the face mask. Now, should that have been a penalty? Sure. It does seem like by NFL rule, maybe it's not. The refs were asked about that afterward and seemed to defend themselves, and I saw a screenshot of the rule book. I didn't dive into it, but it seems like maybe that was the right no call. I think even if it was the right no call, we all agree it's not a good rule. But let's say that T. Higgins got away with pass interference. That's fine. It's one thing to get jobbed on a no call or any officiating blunder like the Rams did. There was 29 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game at that point when T. Higgins got Jalen Ramsey by the face mask, scored the long touchdown. 29 minutes, 45 seconds. Plenty of time for the Rams to make up what had just happened to them. When the Bengals get absolutely destroyed by the refs, there's a minute 40 left. A little bit of a difference there. The Rams had time to make up for the refs screwing them. The Bengals did not. The Bengals were put in a position where they had, no opportunity. Not no opportunity, but they were put in a bad position. They didn't have several possessions to make up for what happened to them. And you can debate both the calls. But the one thing you can't debate is that Logan Wilson should have never been put in a position to be called for that defensive holding penalty because the play should have never happened because 4 of the 5 offensive linemen jumped. Or actually, more accurately, the center forgot to snap the ball. Sucks, man. It's hard to swallow. It's a hard one to swallow. And I'm a guy, if you know me and you've probably heard me say it on here, I think the people who say, oh, dude, the refs are out to get us and this game is fixed. I think both those crowds are dorks, but boy, what a bunch of fuel they got with that one, huh? Quite the evidence they got at SoFi Stadium on Super Bowl Sunday last week. I'd also be interested to see how it would be perceived had it been called the other way. And again, you got Los Angeles, this big flashy market that the NFL is very intent on making become a thing. And let me tell you what, being out there, it's really not a thing. Most our Uber drivers did not care that the Rams were in the Super Bowl. And if they did care, it's mainly because they were rooting against them because they were transplants and they saw that Los Angeles sports fans didn't really care. They were there when it was a good time. Rams fans were really nice, by the way. But man, if that was called the other way, let's say that one of the Rams linebackers has that call go against him. Are we talking about it? Not we. Nationally, does it get talked about a little more? I mean, this has me fired up, I think, more than ever, just because it does feel like it should be a huge miss by the refs. It should be the story. But because it's not, oh, the Rams and Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald and this new market, shut up. It's infuriating. And if you're listening, you can probably relate. It's a hard one to swallow. Especially when you look at the fact the Bengals played well enough to win the football game. They won the turnover battle 2-0. They held the Rams. Going into the 2-minute warning, this all-star team of Rams had 16 points. 16. It sucks that OBJ got injured. That's part of the game. The Bengals were missing a key offensive piece, too, that they lost back in December. We'll get to that in a bit. And CJ Uzomah, for those of us who have watched the Bengals this season, I don't even know that he was 50%. I admire him for playing in the game, but that's an injury that usually I think takes 4 to 6 weeks to heal. He played on it after 2 weeks. And I'm not saying Uzomah is OBJ, but everyone's dealing with stuff this time of year. That's an unfortunate thing. That's something that cannot be controlled. What can be controlled by the NFL is getting competent officials on the field, and that seems to be out the window at this point. And that's another situation. Why can replay not be... Why do you not have a guy in the booth that calls down and says, hey, losers, refs, the entire offensive line false started, you guys should have blown the whistle? Who's arguing that? There's no one arguing that. The NFL continues to blunder this thing, and I don't know why, but we wouldn't have conversations like this if they would just fix the problem. It's unfortunate we can even have this conversation, right? I hate having this conversation. I'm a little embarrassed to be saying these things into a microphone and then put it out there in the world. Like I said earlier, I've always been so critical of the refs hate us, man. The refs hate my team. Shut up. Those people are usually dorks. But right now, I think more than ever is when this fan base, the Cincinnati Bengals fan base, has a reason to make that argument. And I'm not saying that the refs hate the Bengals or the fix was in, but they're certainly incompetent, and it certainly is curious when they decided to start officiating the game. Bengals need a better offensive line. Let's transition. And they did attack it in the offseason, just not enough. If you can go back. I know my number one issue with this team going into the season was they had no depth on the offensive line. They're starting five, solid, but zero depth. And it's kind of weird. You look back at this thing, you could make you could make a lot of arguments. But Riley Reiff, who has played 12 games as a Bengal, you could say that an ankle injury to him in November or December, sometime around there, that's arguably what cost the Bengals their first Super Bowl title. And I'm not making an excuse. It's just kind of an interesting thing, right? If Riley Reiff's in there, I don't think Joe Burrow gets sacked 7 times. Again, and every team's got injuries. That's part of the game. The Bengals were as healthy this late in the season as I can remember in quite some time. I'm not making an excuse. It's just kind of an interesting thing. You never know those little things that happen throughout the season because remember, at first we thought he was going to be out 3 weeks. He ends up missing the year. That little lack of depth on the right side of the line is maybe what cost the Bengals a Super Bowl. Look back now. If you're the front office in Cincinnati, maybe you think, maybe we should have prepared for the best. Prepared for the worst and went out and got the best, I should say. Maybe we should have grabbed someone else to be in there as a rotational piece. Speaking of rotational pieces, there would have been one the Bengals could have had. And this is the other thing about the offensive line that if Jackson Carman becomes a 10-year starter in Cincinnati, that's about the only thing that could erase the deficit of him being picked 46th overall this year and on an offensive line that was absolute garbage, not being able to get on the field. 46th overall. That 46th overall pick is maybe what cost the Bengals the Super Bowl as well. Again, not an excuse. And the Rams could say, well, if we had this or that, we would have won by 14 instead of 3. Sure. And I hope they do. I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses when it comes to personnel. It is what it is. You build your team, you get what you deserve. I'm just pointing out that in the offseason, a little blunder here or there could be the difference in all the glory or the AFC Championship, which I'm very proud of, very happy about. But when you get that close, it hurts. Creed Humphrey went 63rd overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe instead of Jackson Carman, you could have taken Creed Humphrey, the highest graded center in football this year as a rookie. Maybe he could have moved over to the right side guard, and maybe Hakeem Adeniji on 4th and 1 does not get mauled by Aaron Donald, leading to Joe Burrow being sacked while Jamar Chase was wide open down the field for what would have been a Super Bowl winning touchdown. Maybe. Bengals have to stop drafting offensive linemen. They are god-awful at it. Even Jonah Williams, who's been solid, I don't know that he's a cornerstone left tackle. 11th overall. Cedric Ogbuehi and Jake Fisher have been well documented. Back-to-back guys they took in, 2015, I want to say? Yeah, 2015. Let Whitworth go. We know how that worked out. And now, with a top 50 pick on a team that really needed some help on the offensive line, they took Jackson Carman, who with the opening day right guard injured and with the opening day right tackle injured, the guy who played left tackle at Clemson and protected Trevor Lawrence's blind side at one of the most prestigious football schools in all of the country, despite being a top 50 pick with an awful offensive line, wasn't good enough to get on the field. So I sit here, and last year I said maybe the Bengals draft nothing but offensive linemen. I don't know that I feel that way anymore because they're terrible at it. Maybe. Could have been different. Maybe Creed Humphrey wouldn't have been the guy they needed. But it's hard to look right now and say, hey, a guy taken 17 spots later, not just the highest graded rookie center, the highest graded center in football. Got a feeling he would have been fine at either one of those offensive line interior spots, including Hakeem Adeniji, who just got mauled. By the way, that goes on coaching too. I don't know what Hakeem Adeniji is doing one-on-one with Aaron Donald with the entire season on the line. This feels good, by the way. All this has just been racking up in my head for the last 5 days, so it feels good. I let it out. That was a cool thing. My dad and I went out. I mean, my dad and I have probably watched, I don't know, well over 1,000 Bengals games together, maybe thousands, I don't know. It's great to experience it with him. But I told him after, you just sit here and you pay such close attention to this team and you know everything you think there is to know, as much as you can know from being outside the building. And you just look at the little things they could have done differently. And I'm not saying I would have known not to draft Jackson Carman, although I would have because I covered him in high school and there were a lot of things people did not like about him and his work ethic. But I don't know, man. Tough one. Real tough one. A lot of what-ifs. And had the Bengals, won the game, I'm sure the Rams could do the same thing. The 49ers and the Chiefs could sit here and do the same thing. There's a lot of teams. I mean, you look at the Packers. They beat the Bengals in the regular season. They beat the Rams in the regular season. There's a lot of teams who are good enough to win it, but you got to make sure you have got all your nuts and bolts in place, or there's going to be issues. Got to grease the skillet, baby. Final topic we'll get to here. Zac Taylor was extended on, Wednesday? He is now the Bengals coach through 2026, or at least he's tied to them through 2026. Obviously, things can go different ways. With the Bengals' history, it's unlikely that anything would go other than Zac Taylor being the coach for the foreseeable future. I'm good with the extension. Why wouldn't you be? It's, the players love him. My one beef with him is something that I originally liked about Zac Taylor. He's great at coming out after the games when things don't go well and saying, man, this was my fault. I've got to learn from my mistakes. A lot of coaches like to come out and say, well, this. No, he's the guy who comes out, shoulders the blame, says he gets to learn from the mistakes, which is great. But does he? Because I've been saying since about September, what are we doing with Samaje Perine on third down? It doesn't work out. You guys saw what happened last Sunday. Critical situation, 3rd and 1 from the 50. You got all the talent on this team. You got Joe Mixon, a top 5 running back, at worst a top 8 running back, and you give the ball to Samaje Perine. I don't care if it takes a few extra seconds off the clock. You need to go down and get a field goal. You're 15 yards at that point from field goal range? It's 3rd and 1, man. You don't give the ball to Samaje Perine, who pretty much everyone knows won't be on the team next year. I like Samaje Perine. He's a fine second-string running back. He had a huge play against the Chiefs. But with everything on the line, you don't have Joe Mixon in the game? And this isn't a new thing. This was something all year. And I know that in the first half, in the first 3 quarters, if you want to give Joe a breather and you want Samaje Perine in there on 3rd down, fine. But you got to have the conversations. Hey, if we're in the final 15 minutes, Joe Mixon's in the game. Every play the offense is on the field. If there's a running back in the game, it should be Joe Mixon. You got the ball back with 1:35 left and a chance to go down and win the Super Bowl. Samaje Perine should have never seen the field unless Joe Mixon's injured. So there's 2 frustrations in there. 1, what the hell was Samaje Perine doing on the field? And 2, something I really like about Zac Taylor. He claims to learn from these mistakes, but the evidence isn't always there. That's one piece, I guess. It did say the running backs coach asked Zac Taylor if they wanted to sub in Mixon, and he said, we're running with tempo right now. Let's leave Mixon. I cannot imagine how much that eats up Joe Mixon. to put in the effort he has to this team, and with everything on the line, watch a guy that's about a third as talented as him get the freaking ball. It was a great season, though. No doubt about that. I'm not mad at the Bengals. I'm not mad at anyone except for the officials and, moreover, more importantly, the NFL for continuing to trot the officials out there. And it's not even necessarily the officials. It's the process. I mean, we're reviewing so many things. There's so many timeouts, so many breaks. Have a guy up top watching the monitor. I'm not saying you can fix everything. Nothing will ever be perfect. But when you miss something that is objectively a penalty, like that false start, and it maybe costs the Bengals the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it did. Maybe the Rams score. But at a minimum, the Rams then have... The Rams, because of a missed penalty, went from 3rd and goal from the 13 to 1st and goal from the 5 or the 4, whatever. It's infuriating to see your team play that well and have it come down to that. But I'm not mad at it. I'm very happy with the Bengals, the direction of the franchise. I don't see how you couldn't be. It just sucks to think your team was good enough to win it all. And they were, by the way. No doubt about that. The Bengals were good enough to win the Super Bowl. And played well enough to win the Super Bowl. Won the turnover battle. Bengals had the lead in the Super Bowl at the 2-minute warning. And God, does that hurt. Congratulations to the Rams and all 46 of their fans. They were very nice people, by the way. The Rams fans, a lot of them, casual, but whatever. That's life in a big city. You don't move to Los Angeles to root for the football team. You move to go to the beach and do all the artistic things and that. But Rams fans are really cool. My God, does that place constantly smell like dope, as you call it. Smoking the doobies out there at SoFi Stadium, which is probably why they were all so nice, right? How many people do you know who are constantly high and not in a good mood? So they were very friendly. That was the one thing, man. Couldn't have been much nicer, and that was cool. So, silver lining, it does happen to a fan base who happen to seem like mostly cool people. I don't know. I picked the Rams in the preseason to win the Super Bowl, so this is the first time in a long time I've got it right, and the first time ever I've been happy or not happy to get it right. So, what are you going to do? It's tough. It's tough to swallow. I know that one day we will look back on it, or at least I'll speak for myself. I'll look back on it and be thrilled to have the opportunity and thrilled to have all the, memorabilia and have the memories. But looking at the ESPN chart right now, let's see, with 129 to go, or no, that's not right. With 155 to go, the Bengals were favored to win. They had a 55% chance. I feel like it got higher than that, though. I don't know. It's hard, man. Very difficult. It is a tough one. What are you going to do? Total yards pretty much even. First downs just about even. Time of possession just about even. The turnovers is the one. If you would have told me, hey, the Bengals are going to win the turnover battle. I think I might have said, if the Bengals win the turnover battle, I'm almost certain I did. If the Bengals win the turnover battle, they'll win the game. And I think they should have. All right, I don't know when the next episode will be. I got a busy life, but I'll try to have something out next week. Maybe I'll be in a better mood then. I appreciate everyone tuning in all season long. Appreciate all the guests. It's been a fun ride. The best Bengals season of my lifetime. I know that I'll cherish it, and I do already. But right now, I'm never satisfied with anything. So it makes sense that I would be still in this state of grief and anger 5 days later. But, so goes life. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm not going to get all philosophical. You get where I'm coming from. It was a great season. The Bengals won the AFC. They went to the Super Bowl. I can say I've been to a Super Bowl. The Bengals, I got to watch them in a Super Bowl. My whole generation of friends who, of course, I talked to all week long, texting and very excited, and now we're all down. But, man, we spent our whole lives, Jeff Blake was the highlight of elementary school for us, and then winning the division in 2005 was the highlight of high school. And since then, I mean, you had the Andy and AJ years, which was kind of like a big flame that burned out pretty quickly because you kind of realized that even after the first few playoff appearances, it was a good, not great team. It seemed like a perennial 10-6 team, and here we are. So we're in our 30s now, people my age, and we finally got to experience something quite amazing. Hopefully it's not done. It would be awesome. It will be. The Bengals are going to be back in the playoffs. And I know it's easy to sit here and say they're going to get there again. They're going to get to the Super Bowl again. Maybe they will. I hope they will. I hope to God. I think if you listen to the last 25 minutes of this podcast, you know how badly I want them to get back there. But I also know football history well enough to know that it doesn't always work out like that. We all know the Marino story. We all know Joe Namath, the Hall of Famer, only got to one. We all know that Patrick Mahomes, after his first full year in the league, looked unstoppable. He still only has one, which is great. But it doesn't always work out. There's 31 other teams gunning for the same thing. And, got the right quarterback, got to protect him, obviously. That's the thing, man. And you never know. We talked about the little things last offseason that maybe if they had gone differently, the Bengals are hanging a Super Bowl banner this fall. Same thing this year. You got to make sure all the right things get in place. One little mistake, one little injury could be the difference in whether or not your team gets to the top of the mountain or not. So, it's in the jungle. Hopefully I didn't scare too many people off. I'm Matt Edwards. I'm at Matt Edwards on Twitter. I think I've tweeted like once since Super Bowl Sunday. Monday morning when I saw that Jamar Chase was wide open on that 4th and 1, but Burrow didn't have time, I literally felt for about 30 seconds like I was going to puke, and I had to, I didn't get on. I hid the Twitter icon on my phone and went out and checked out Hollywood for the rest of the day, and that was that. So I'm at Matt Edwards on Twitter. I'll do whatever I do in the offseason there. I don't know. But thanks for tuning in all season long. I hope you continue to do so. It's in the jungle, and we will see you again probably next week. Just subscribe, and it'll pop up on your phone whenever it happens. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.